Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever edition of It's Our House podcast with Faz and Chris. I'm Faz.
And I guess I'm Chris.
Yeah, and we are here to talk about all things wrestling. There's many podcasts out there, but hopefully you can stick with us and have some fun over the next coming months. We've got a lot of guests coming up, some really good names from the UK scene, and then hopefully as things develop, we can pull in names from everyone, really. So I thought in this starting podcast, we could actually just talk about how we met, how me and Chris met in our loving romantic days, and then how that bled into our love for wrestling and where we are now in our wrestling writing type careers. So, Chris, good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, not too bad. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, bud. It's been
tired.
Yes, a pretty
always
hectic weekend, to be honest with you.
Yes, it has been. That's the joys of being a father.
Yes,
isn't it?
Both of us are not together.
Yeah, this isn't our house. These are our individual houses.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm from Liverpool in the UK, and Chris, I think you're from Coventry. Is that right?
I am from Coventry. Yes.
Yeah. See, I do my research.
Bang in the middle of the country.
Yeah, both of our teams aren't performing the best at the moment, but you know.
The less said about that, the better.
So we're both writers, editors, news people, exclusive people for bodyslam.net. Chris was the head news writer at the time. He reached out kind of on Twitter and asked for other writers and things like that to come on board. I messaged him and I told him straight from the off I was in it for the long term and I wanted more than just to write news. And within a short space of time, he kind of gave me the chance to spread my wings, shall we say. So Chris now goes and does all the exclusives types of things. He grabs that information and pushes it to me and the news group, and I kind of run the news group. We do it as a 50-50 split sometimes because of kids, as we said. But that's kind of how me and Chris met. So Chris, do you want to say how you originally got into it, and we'll go from there?
Yeah. So I used to write I've written for a few websites. Nothing huge, I did some little bits of work for Sportskeeda and I did some stuff for PW Torch as well. But then I sort of found more of like a long-term home. Things happen there as they do. Lots of like egos, lots of stuff that went down. I won't go into too much detail, but the guy who I wrote for there was really good friends with Cassidy Haynes, who runs and owns Body Slam. He reached out to Cass. Cass needed somebody to come in and sort of like be that lead news guy, help manage the website from day to day. I was working from home at the time, so it seemed like a no-brainer. And that's it. That was about 4 months ago. Yeah, sort of like late June, I came into Body Slam. I was basically the only person working for Cass, really, especially in news. Cass was working 24 hours a day with the website, and then, as you said, Faz, that's when I started reaching out to people, trying to get some more people in, and now we've got such a good little team. Well, I say little, we've got like 20 people, 21 people. We've got like half of those are in news, half of them are writing opinions, live coverage. We've got such an awesome little team, great team dynamic. Everybody gets along. There are squabbles sometimes, as there are with any big family. But yeah, that's my story. I love Body Slam. Feel right at home at Body Slam.
Yeah, I think obviously with Body Slam as well, like they have podcasts galore. I think we've got three, is it so far? Maybe 4? Are we the third or the fourth?
We are now the third.
We're the third.
I think there is a fourth in the background somewhere. And we've got video reviews, we've got, other video content going on.
Yeah, I think obviously we've got some, I know Cass wants to get into the gaming side of things as well with wrestling, so we're going to look at that in the future. But yeah, good little team. We've also got, he'll hate me if I don't mention him, we've also got Stuart Lawson, who's our kind of producer, social media manager. He's the heel of the group. He'll be on time to time with guests because he's got some pretty good contacts in that retrospect, and he's obviously going to help share all our stuff on social media and things like that. So what started really, because this is going to be kind of like a mini interview, you asking me asking you. So what kind of started your love for wrestling in general?
It was a mistake. To be honest, it was
Still,
not one that
still is.
yeah, I don't regret it or anything. Sometimes I do. Yeah, I think I was no older than about 8 or 9. Kids at school watched it. I had a couple of good friends who watched WWF, obviously, at the time. Um, and I was never really bothered. Like, they were always trying to get me into it. I wasn't really that interested. I'd catch the highlights on like Channel 4. It might have been Channel 5 before
Yeah.
school at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I enjoyed it. I had a bit of a passing interest in it. I knew The Rock, I knew The Undertaker, I knew Kane, but nobody really like stood out for me.
Mhm.
Nobody really like brought me in, pulled me in. And then I think when I was about, I would have been about 11 or 12 at the time. It was Mania 17. I was still living at home with my mum and dad. I was, as I say, I was like 11 or 12. And my neighbor, we had new neighbors, and he just struck up a conversation one day, like, "Oh, do you watch wrestling? It was WrestleMania 17 this weekend, and I've taped it back on bloody VHS." And I was like, "Yeah, sound whatever. I'll check it out." And I watched it, and I was enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. And it was all like, what was it? William Regal versus Jericho.
Yeah, rings a bell.
Yeah, William Regal versus Jericho. There was Undertaker versus Triple H, and then TLC 2
Yeah.
hit, and that was it. Just done completely. I was suckered in. I was hooked. I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen men jumping off like 15-foot ladders before. It was crazy. Was instantly drawn to the Hardys, who I'd seen them on TV, obviously in the clips and that, but this was my first real taste of seeing them for a good solid stretch of time. Seeing Edge spear Jeff, off the ladder, dangling off the titles,
Yeah.
that will stay with me for life. It was one of my first proper good, happy wrestling memories. So yeah, that was it, and then it was just sort of like just snowballed from there. Really, started picking up all the video games, and that helped me get into it a bit more because I didn't have whatever it was on at the time. I assume it would have been Sky
Yeah, it was cable,
at the
wasn't
time.
it? Cable was everywhere.
Yeah, we had like NTL.
Yeah.
NTL TV or something like that. It wasn't very good, didn't have many channels. So I would just have to learn about what happened when I went to school, and my mates would tell me, or if the neighbor happened to tape a pay-per-view. So I'd go a couple of months without really seeing anything. And then I'd watch that next pay-per-view. And I wouldn't have had a clue what happened in between. But yeah, that was it for me, man. And then as soon as the internet came in, then obviously that was it. Easier access to it.
Yeah.
Got dial-up internet. Yeah, that's me. That's how I got into wrestling. How about you?
Well, I wrote a recent piece about it on Body Slam. My first ever experience of wrestling. Obviously, like you, I knew about like back then, like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, people like that. I was always WWF at the time, never really WCW. Didn't kind of venture into that realm. And my friend, I went round to stay at his during like junior school back then, and it was like Kane's debut, Hell in a Cell. As soon as that light went out, because I was watching it like you, just enjoying it in passing. Obviously it was a good match, Michael's Undertaker, but when those lights went off and he came in that ring and he ripped the door off, and it was like, what the hell? My mind was
That's
just
gotta be Kane.
My
It's
mind
gotta be Kane.
was just absolutely blown by that. So, like you, I couldn't really watch it anyway. It was more I'd hear snippets of it. I try and stay in my mates as much as I can every weekend, type of thing. But then it was like games like in your house, in our house, games like that I started to play and really got into. And then obviously once it came on Channel 4, I remember watching like Royal Rumble 2000. And I was, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting there with a bowl of cereal in my bedroom, and it was just incredible from start to finish. And
so around the same time as myself, then, because Mania was what, 2001?
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I remember being downstairs and watching Stone Cold Steve Austin break my heart as he destroyed The Rock with a chair with Vince in his corner, and I was just like, blah. And then, that was kind of what made me fall in love. But it was the dramatic side and never knowing. And I think while the internet is fantastic, and it is, because obviously we use it for our benefit, it ruins so much. So much so quickly. Like the Hardys returning. Yes, it was a huge pop, one of the biggest pops ever. But There was rumours going around for 2-3 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
And, WWE tried to do all that sneaky thing. And obviously that backstage video where you can see them getting brought in and then put backstage and, all the lights go off and stuff.
Yeah.
That was amazing because I was watching it live in town in Liverpool and, the whole place went mental. But in the back of your mind, it's like, I kind of knew that was going to happen. And
yeah, I remember tweeting at the time saying, like, that was incredible. I knew it was going to happen, but it was still incredible.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't take away from it too much because it was that big.
Yeah.
It was that big of a deal. But like you say, I think for about 2 or 3 weeks, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah. And I think like the time before that was when The Rock was going to host WrestleMania and all the lights went out and the electricity was going through the stadium. I didn't know about that, so I'm getting chills now just thinking about it. And when that music hit, because The Rock's my favorite wrestler of all time, always will be. Anyone who can get that mic in his hand and speak like he does, deserves all the awards in the world, really. But yeah, that was kind of my love for it. So, what do you think of the current state of product now, where we stand?
If we break it down, Raw, Raw hasn't been good for a little while.
No.
Shows glimpses every now and then. Like, I don't hate Retribution. I like the idea behind it. I think they've saved it a little bit by having Mustafa Ali take over as the leader. I think they're going to try and resurrect that a bit more and do some good there. If they keep working with the Hurt Business, that can't be a bad thing. The Hurt Business are the best thing about Raw at the minute by far. Yeah. SmackDown has been the A show for a while now, for at least the last few months. Certainly, everything going on with Roman, with Jay. With the Fiend and Alexa, obviously with them shifting over to Raw, hopefully that'll help Raw sort things out a little bit and save face a little bit. But at the same time, they've then just shifted the Mysterio and Rollins saga over to SmackDown, which I just desperately want to see that die now. I think it will, because obviously Seth's going to need some time off soon, and I think we've discussed in the group chats, haven't we, how the only fitting way for that to end would be for Murphy to take out Seth, put him on the shelf for a couple of months. Other than that, I mean, NXT is a weird one for me at the minute. I live and breathe NXT. It's always been my favorite brand, especially for the last few years. Yeah, same.
The boys.
Johnny Gargano. But in the last few months, maybe in the last sort of 6 months, it might be because of everything that's going on with the world and the lack of crowds and all that kind of stuff. But NXT's just sort of lost its spark for me a little bit. I watched TakeOver, the most recent TakeOver 31, and I thought it was just good. Every match. I think my problem with NXT at the minute is they're so determined for every match, especially on a TakeOver, to be a 5-star classic. For me, it just, I don't know, I get a bit bored of always seeing 5-star classics. I'm happy to see a squash. I'm happy to see a 10, 15 minute match. I'm happy to see a gimmick match thrown in there every now and then. They don't all have to be Dave Meltzer giving them 5.25 stars,
Yeah.
I think they're trying too hard.
AEW. I think a big part of that, especially with Johnny Gargano, is prime example. His match against Judas Priest was brilliant, but as you said, he's the heel in that situation. We should have been seeing a lot more story-driven things from Johnny in that, where he's trying to do a lot more dodgy things, trying to get the victory. But as you said, because he is Johnny Takeover, it was all about him just putting on a 5-star match. And when you're a heel, it's not what you kind of want to see.
No, not at all. That dynamic worked better when it was Gargano and Ciampa. Because you had Ciampa, who was the ultimate heel, a real piece of shit heel. With Johnny being the ultimate babyface that he's always been. I like heel Johnny Gargano, don't get me wrong, and I think as much as that match didn't have enough of that sort of story-driven stuff in it, at least they had Johnny get involved with Candice versus Io Shirai. I think that saved it. A little bit at the end. I really liked what they did there. Not a big fan of them already getting rematches. When's Halloween Havoc? Is it next week? Is it this Wednesday coming up?
Yes.
The one after?
So, I think it's the one after. Sells every week Sunday, so it's usually around that time. Yeah,
of course. So we've already got 2 direct rematches from 2 weeks ago. I'm not a fan of that.
No.
I'm worried about NXT because obviously they've lost Karrion Kross. It looks like they could potentially be losing Finn Balor for a little bit of time. Who is there to step up outside of the people that we've already seen in that position? I don't need to see Cole, Gargano, Ciampa. Like Velveteen Dream, he's done. He's not going to be up there.
No.
Kushida, maybe? Is Kushida a big enough deal, a big enough name to step into the role of a Karrion Kross or a Finn Balor? I don't think so.
Not at the moment, no, I don't think so.
Not at the moment. What else is there? Oh yeah, so AEW. We could do a whole episode on this. You heard me sighing straight away.
There's really mixed feelings within our group, isn't there, about AEW? We've got massive, huge fans, and then we've got kind of people who haven't been pulled in by that glitz and glamour, like myself and you. We love wrestling, we love AEW, we love watching something different. But I think as you're going to kind of go into now, there are a lot of things that they can work on, which are kind of the hardcore fans aren't really clicking onto yet.
Yeah, AEW being a thing is incredibly good for wrestling. It's important. Yeah. We've clamored for years to have some real alternative, haven't we? For WWE to have a real like pretender to the throne. But you know, Impact have tried and failed and come back, and Impact at the minute are riding a real wave at the minute. You know, I'm really enjoying Impact at the moment. AEW, I don't know what it is, but it's just not clicking for me. I've given them a year, well, just over a year now, and I have enjoyed parts of it. You know, every pay-per-view that I've watched has been thoroughly enjoyable. They do tag team wrestling so much better than any other promotion.
Yeah.
Especially WWE, where tag team wrestling isn't even on the agenda anymore. You know, there's like 3 tag teams at the minute in WWE. You know, they split one up every week, it seems. AEW treat their tag team division with respect and with importance, but then they also do 24-man tag matches every other week, which I don't need to see. It's, you know, I just want to see FTR versus... No, I want to see classics like FTR versus The Revival from NXT, proper tag team wrestling. FTR versus The Bucks, FTR versus Omega and Page, you know, stuff like that. So they are doing some things right. Tag team wrestling is the big thing for me. It's what got me into wrestling with, you know, with TLC2. I've always been a huge fan of tag team wrestling. I just like the extra dynamic of having 4 people in the ring and proper old school tag team wrestling, you know, where they've got tag team moves rather than it just being 4 guys that do their own thing, but as a tag team, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, like when you get a Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode team, that sort of team where it's just 2 random guys thrown together. Sometimes it works, like it did for The Bar.
Yeah.
Obviously, that worked an absolute beauty. But yeah, I don't know. I think another part of it is, like, as you touched upon at the start there, the fans with AEW. WWE have a lot of toxic fans.
Yeah.
I have clashed with many of them, and I will clash with many more. And I myself, I'll be honest, I've probably been a bit toxic myself as a fan. But that's because you protect the things that you love, and I love WWE. I always have done, and I always will do.
Yep.
But AEW fans just seem to take it to a whole new level, a whole new unnecessary level, like wishing death upon people if they don't like Jungle Boy. You know, it's mental. It's dangerous. It's causing a divide. And you know, when the viewership comes out every week, well, a couple of times a week, when it comes out on a Thursday for the Wednesday Night Wars, and I see AEW was 200,000 viewers ahead of NXT, I don't care. Like, I'm happy. I'm happy that nearly 1.5 million people watched wrestling on a Wednesday night, because that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, especially from our neck of the woods, being in the UK. It's even harder. So I think the current state of the business is good. It's been a very, very difficult year, obviously. You know, not going to pretend for a single second that, oh, woe is me, I can't watch wrestling with no fans, you know, like it's the biggest deal in the world. There are so many more important things going on, but it has had a real effect. You know, I like the Thunderdome, but I don't like it being piped in audio. It just feels really unnatural. Like Ember Moon's return.
Dead.
Absolutely dead. I love Ember Moon. I think she's incredibly talented. But imagine that. Imagine the pop she'd have got with a real live crowd.
Yo,
It was
they got that
overshadowed.
wrong though, didn't they? Anyway, twice. Tony Storm first, amazing acquisition for NXT. You know,
Yeah.
you show it, and then 2 seconds later, it's Ember Moon. You didn't
Oh,
need
by
to
the
do
way, Ember Moon's back here.
that.
Like, you know, yeah, it ruined
Didn't need
it.
to do that at all.
No. I think it was also a bit of a as talented as Ember Moon is. I think a lot of people had sort of like resigned to the fact that her career probably was over.
Yeah.
Because she'd been saying that. Obviously, it was a swerve. It was just to throw us off a bit. But there were a lot of names being floated around, like names like Bo Dallas, names like Robert Roode. I'm sure there are others, but you know, even Pac.
Yeah.
Pac was a name that was floated around, which made no sense, but even that got me all excited. Like, Jesus, imagine if Pac came back.
That'd be amazing.
And then it was Ember Moon.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, sure. In an already stacked women's division.
Yes. That's
but,
the one
as
thing
you say,
WWE is getting right in every single show at the moment is their women's division. AEW, you know, if we're talking about what they're lacking, it's their women's division. And, you know, Britt Baker, she comes out and she says, you know, the fans are kind of to blame for some of it. But when your star performer or one of your star performers, Britt Baker, isn't even on the show on a Wednesday, that says a lot. It doesn't matter about the segment. It doesn't matter if, you know, your champion has a great match. When you only have one women's match on a show and it lasts for 5-10 minutes at a push, there's something wrong with your whole company, because wrestling as a whole has been clambering for such strong women matches and strong women divisions. And WWE, you know, yes, they went through years of atrocity with the Divas title, just getting boobs out the lot. But when the four horsewomen came in and they changed the game, I think since then Triple H maybe has a big part to play in it. You know, he got a lot of acquisitions from, you know, Ring of Honor and Japanese wrestling. They brought them in and they settled really well in NXT, and that was a good way to see if they could shine without speaking on the mic. I mean, Asuka barely said anything for her first year in NXT, and she was a beast. Obviously the problem with the main show is that you need to talk, and that's why a lot of these talents get lost. But AEW don't need to have that problem because they've got a lot of talkers there. But I get the green. I get, you know, I had an argument with someone on Twitter myself where they were going, that's why they're on dark.
An argument on Twitter? What?
They said that's why they're on dark, and, you know, they're building up and they're doing this, and it's like, yeah, but okay, if I was AEW and we had AEW dark on, when is it, Thursday, something like that?
Tuesday.
And
YouTube.
There was a match there that really blew my mind, or I saw, you know, even like 5 minutes of a woman's match that was like, that was good. Why not lift that? Why not talk about it on the main show? Why not hype those wrestlers that are there every week in that ring? Instead, you had a storyline with is it Conti, where she was given a contract and then disappeared from existence. You know what I mean? And then you've got Britt Baker storyline where what's the girl's name?
Big Swole.
Yeah, Big Swole, and everyone's hyping that up, and then dead in the water, gone, finished. See you later. And then obviously we had, you know, Thunder Rosa coming in. What a talent! There's such a talent on their hands. And I get maybe, you know, she's probably had to go back to, you know, where she's wrestling now, just to, you know, because they're looking to come back, aren't they, this week? But, you know, that conversation and that relationship needs to be so much stronger, because, again, just like with AEW, what it seems to happen is a lot of the storylines, if you're not the main people like Cody and Jericho, it's done. As soon as that storyline ends, it's like, okay, you can go now. And we pull someone in to fill that spot with Jericho. And I think kind of that's what's missing with the women's division for me overall in AEW.
No, I agree. And touching upon AEW Dark again, let's compare it to NXT. Let's say, obviously, Dynamite is their main show, and then Dark treat it as their developmental brand in the same way that you've got Raw, SmackDown, and then NXT a step below. Even though it's not the third brand for me, it's one of the brands. But that's how a lot of people see it. So look at Dark. Was it last week they had 14 matches, and then this coming week they've got 16. 2 of those are women's matches. Now it's like an hour and a half, 2 hour long show. Obviously, there's little bits and adverts and stuff like that in between the matches. So 16 matches are maybe going to get 5. Some of them might get 10 minutes each.
Yeah.
I would put money on those women's matches maybe getting 2 or 3 minutes each, especially when you consider that one of them, well, in fact, no, both of them, is an established talent, someone like Brandy Rhodes, against a no-name jobber or an enhancement talent. They are literally going to be 2 3 minute matches. What's that going to do for Brandy? Is she all of a sudden going to be challenging for the title? Probably not. No, it doesn't seem to matter. And as you said, in NXT, they've just come in and just hit the ground running. Look at Rhea.
Yeah.
Rhea came into NXT full time up from NXT UK and just had the most amazing year.
Yeah.
Like from obviously the run up to Survivor Series, everything she did at War Games, the way she finally dethroned Shayna Baszler. She had the standout year for any woman in WWE, as far as I'm concerned.
Should have won at WrestleMania as well.
She should have won at WrestleMania, 100%. And she should have been in the top 5 of the the PWI top 100 women.
Well, Becky Lynch was only around 6 months.
Yeah, and Charlotte, other than the WrestleMania match and appearing on NXT to help boost ratings, which didn't exactly work, I don't really remember much of Charlotte's last year. All of her years roll into one for me, other than obviously being part of the Mania main event with Ronda and Becky. But Bayley thoroughly deserved that win, by the way, being number 1 in there. Bayley's had an incredible year. Definitely. I didn't believe in her heel turn at all at first. The first month or so of it, I was like, oh, this is difficult to watch. This is cringe.
Cheesy,
this is horrible. So cheesy. But then when Sasha obviously joined up with her, got that dynamic back, and you knew what it was going to lead to eventually, I think that's why it was so enjoyable, because we were like, oh, are they gonna attack each other this week? Who's gonna attack who? Who's gonna attack who? And it went on for 6 or 7 months, and it's only just happened. And it's been brilliant. It's been so well done. I hope that they main event Hell in a Cell. I don't think they will. Not when you've got the I Quit within Hell in a Cell match. It's got to be Reigns Uso.
I think it'll be Drew, then the women's.
Yeah, they'll probably co-main event, won't they?
Yeah.
Jey Uso is going to die at Hell in a Cell. I'm really genuinely scared for the guy.
I would love it. Don't get me wrong. I know obviously Roman is not gonna lose. He's just not. But it would be so good if he just had it, even if it was just for a month. If he just had that title, just to see what, because you could push Roman even further down that dark path of this is my family. I'm getting that title back. This has nothing to do with you. And then obviously, boom, The Rock's music hit. He comes out, and then you have that amazing dynamic. But as you said, he's going to kill him. He probably will kill him live on air.
He ain't going to be able to quit, is he? No. Speaking of The Rock, I want that to happen, but it all depends on what happens with crowds. That match doesn't happen without a crowd.
No.
There's no way The Rock sets foot back in the company.
No.
Unless there's fans in the arena. So I hope it happens. Obviously, it just depends on the world, depends on life. And none of us really know what's going to happen.
No.
I don't really want to see 2 WrestleManias in a row without fans.
No, I'm with you.
It didn't feel right. I enjoyed WrestleMania this year, don't get me wrong.
I think you had to, though, didn't you? I think that's the thing. You had to. I mean, the matches were good.
Yeah.
The matches were good, but it was a kind of, do we think about what's going on out there, or do we watch what's on our screens? And Vince got a lot of got slated for it, really, for saying, really, should we be wrestling this time? But I think he did it quite well. I think they've only, the NXT thing with the pandemic, obviously, and I think there hasn't really been anything on the main show that I can think of any talent, apart from what's her name, who left? John Moxley's wife.
Oh, Renee.
Yeah, Renee. She had it, didn't she?
Yeah.
So and Kevin Owens, that was part of his contract agreement, wasn't it, to come back because his granddad passed away on it.
Yeah. Sammy stayed away for a while, didn't he? But that was just through choice. There was nothing going on there. Like you say, I don't think anybody. Roman obviously stayed away for similar reasons.
Yeah.
Nobody high profile, I would say, had it or any effects from it, or it was weird not seeing Roman Reigns around for 6 months. Especially
the final swerve with Strowman coming in. it didn't really help him at all. You should have had the Fiend. If you're gonna have anyone, you should have had the Fiend come out and reclaim it.
Yeah.
So, especially the way he lost it. The way he lost it was a joke.
Oh yeah, to Goldberg, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
but we don't talk about that.
No. Seth Rollins gave him 25 curb stomps, and Goldberg gave him 3 spears, and that was it.
Yeah. Oldberg.
Yes, Oldberg as well.
Yeah, no, not a fan of that at all. Not a fan of that at all. Right, okay, let's talk favorite matches, because obviously we've both been watching wrestling for 20 plus years now.
Yep.
About 23 or 24 for me. Favorite match from when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. A lot sticking match. To be honest, what I used to love growing up as a kid was Royal Rumbles. I used to absolutely love Royal Rumble. And is it 96 or 98? From the Austin one? And it was Michaels versus Undertaker in a casket match.
Yeah.
Michaels hit his back, so 98. That, to me, is one of the best Royal Rumbles of all time. You know, Austin, was he going to make it? Was he not? He had this big target on the back. He'd come out and he'd attacked, 8-ball or whatever the hell he was called back then. And he was going around delivering stunners to everyone. And it was, and as soon, because I was a huge Austin fan as a kid, and when that music hit and he came out. So I think the ones that really stand out in my mind, it's like when we said at the start, it's all like the comebacks and the big explosions. And it's never really like, I don't want to be one of these people who go, I love an arm lock and I love, a 5-star sharpshooter, like Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. They're great matches, but as a kid, that's not what I'm watching for. I'm watching for the moments, and that whole pay-per-view is standout for me. And the Rumble, I think 98 Rumble is mine. What about yours?
Mania 17.
Yeah.
It's an easy one, man. I'll always come back to it. It does not matter. TLC2 holds such a special place in my heart. Seeing Jeff Swanton off the top of the ladder, even though we've seen it a million times since, that first time that I saw it was incredible. They stole the show. That Mania 17, even though obviously the main event was great with the best heel turn that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Austin against The Rock, shaking the hand of the devil. TLC2 definitely. I'm a huge fan of the Rumble. I probably get most excited every year for the Rumble. More than WrestleMania. More than SummerSlam. SummerSlam normally falls on my birthday, so I'm generally quite excited for that anyway. But the Royal Rumble, if we're talking about favorite Royal Rumble matches, it is impossible for me to not say this year's.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year's was just so special.
Yeah.
There have been many great Royal Rumbles. The last 3 or 4 have all been really good, really strong. I've enjoyed the women's ones as well.
Definitely.
Last year's was good. This year's was really good. Even though I didn't agree with Charlotte winning it, and it looked like Shayna was going to win it. I'm a big Shayna fan, so I was a bit gutted that she didn't win that. But this year's Rumble, Jesus, special, really special.
Especially for us.
Edge's return was incredible.
Yeah.
Genuinely didn't see it happening.
No, never.
Rumble season, I try and pay as little attention to rumors and dirt sheets and stuff going around as I possibly can, because annoyingly, I saw the stage being created. I saw images of the stage going up, and it said MVP.
Yeah.
And I was gutted that I saw it because I loved MVP. Always loved MVP. Probably my favorite ever US champion outside of Cena.
Yeah.
I think back to all the matches I've ever watched, all the wrestlers I've ever hated. I have never been angrier in my life than watching this year's Rumble, men's Rumble. I was seething, and after like 20 minutes of the match, I said to my missus, I was like, right, should we just go to bed? Because this is done. Like, Lesnar's already won this. Let's just go. And I remember, even the bits that didn't really matter, like when it looked like Kofi was going to get some retribution.
Yeah.
For the 9-second loss to Brock, when it looked like Big E, who was it that teamed up? It was Big E and Ray.
Yeah.
Big E, Ray, and Kofi, when they all teamed up and looked like they were going to take out Lesnar, and then he was just like, nah, see you later. Literally just chucked them all over within seconds, and he starts dancing around like, I was like, oh, you scumbag, I hate you. This is amazing. Prick. It was so good. And then obviously Drew comes in. I loved Ricochet's little
low blow
assist, the assist of the low blow, and then Drew knocking him over the top. And as I've said I will die on the hill of saying that Brock Lesnar is the most underrated wrestler in WWE history.
He's effortless, isn't he? Effortless.
It's the things he does that people don't clock at the time. Like when Drew eliminated him, Brock could have just been like, right, okay, that's me. I've been paid. I'm off. See you later.
Yeah.
But like that 2, 3, 4 minutes outside the ring, selling the hell out of that elimination. The way he looked at him with genuine fear. Heyman, the way Heyman sold it as well. The shock and the awe on Heyman's face. It was incredible. And like that wasn't even just it. Like you got down to the final, what was it? The final 4 of Edge, Roman, Drew. Who was the 4th?
Was it Orton?
Was it Randy Orton? Yeah, I think it was Randy Orton. And when it just so momentarily looked like Roman was about to eliminate Drew. Because obviously I went into that Rumble thinking, yeah, Drew's going to win it. Drew's my pick. And then you see Roman in the last 4 and in the last 3 and in the last 2. Like, oh.
Yeah, it's happening again.
Oh, okay. And he eliminates Edge as well. Like, oh, okay, I hate you now. But yeah, that moment where Drew eliminated Roman was incredible, like you say, for you and me, for Stuart as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure we could mention it at some point when Stuart's on. I imagine Stuart was going absolutely mental at the time.
I bet he was.
I popped like crazy, and I don't normally pop for the final elimination of the Rumble. It's never. I enjoy the match, but the outcome is sort of like neither here nor there for me. But seeing Drew win it after his story, after all those years, after coming into the company, leaving, coming back, you know,
it's even stuff that you don't know, do you? Like that 24 documentary was fantastic because I didn't know 9/10 of that. I knew he got pushed down, you know, the pecking order, shall we say, but I didn't know it was because he is obviously his mum died and everything that went on behind that. So as you said, rightly so, he got the victory. But it's going to be such a shame if he doesn't get that again in front of that live crowd. He needs that.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'd be happy to see him lose at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, me too.
Let Randy Orton take the title, have it for a few months, maybe leading into like Rumble Mania sort of season. If the fans do start to come back, it would be nice to see Drew get that moment to shine in front of the fans. But I think once he loses it, I don't see him getting it back for a while.
No,
because if he loses it to Orton, of all people, that's going to lead to Orton versus Edge.
Yes.
Like the third and final encounter, Edge wins, gets the title, just to make up purely for the fact that he had to obviously retire and vacate. So favorite match from recent memory. I will start, and it's very easy, and I am wearing it on me right now, and you know what I'm going to say. Gargano versus Andrade, TakeOver Philadelphia. It's my favorite match of all time. TLC2 held the mantle for a long time, like 12 years. No, more than that. What am I on about? Like 20 years.
I guess how old are you?
Yeah, I am 20. Like 20 odd years. That was my favorite match. Nothing could touch it. So a lot of great matches along the way that sort of like tried their best to take away from it. But Jesus, that match at Philly, not just for the quality of the match, the quality of the story leading into the match, and then what it also led to, like, you know, post-match, especially on a takeover, as soon as I know what's happened and they're walking away and they're saying goodbye to the fans and whatnot, I'm usually like, right, yeah, okay, I'll turn off now. And then boom, Ciampa comes out, attacks Johnny from behind. Johnny sells the absolute hell out of it. Candice sells the hell out of it. And we get what is probably my favorite rivalry of all time.
Yeah.
In that one moment. So that again was a really special night. I hadn't really watched much NXT at that point. This was January or February 2018. I was still relatively new to NXT. I caught it every now and then. That was my first takeover.
Okay.
And it was incredible. Like it was Aleister Black versus Adam Cole in the Extreme Rules match.
Yeah.
To like co-main event, and that in itself was 5 stars. And I was like, whatever's coming after this has got no chance. Like, you know, like follow that. You got no chance. And then they just blew it out of the water. Johnny Gargano, he's not the best seller in the company. He's one of the best sellers, but nobody can sell a facial expression like Johnny. You know, like that shocked face or that dazed and confused face, or I've just had my face smashed into the concrete, that sort of face, or Ciampa's just betrayed me. That face, we could do an episode on Johnny Gargano, and you could just sit
We
there
will.
looking pretty,
We
and
will.
I'll just talk about him.
We will, and then I'll do one about Adam Cole, and we can go from there.
Yeah, lovely. That was another great rivalry. Jesus, like everything that Johnny touches turns to gold.
Well, yeah, that's actually my pick is Adam Cole Gargano in the cage. That was hands down one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life. I also liked the tag match where Roderick Strong joined the UE. Didn't see that coming.
Turned on, beat them.
Yeah, absolutely insane. To be honest, when it comes to favourite matches, nothing really jumps out in my mind from recent era, just because I think the quality of matches now are so high in their standards. There's kind of been nothing that blows my mind. Obviously, ring skill, anything with AJ Styles in, anything with Daniel Bryan in, I think you're always going to have a 10 out of 10 match within that. And then, like I said, for me, two of the best people in the company are Adam Cole and Kevin Owens. So I need to see them too in a ring.
That's a dream match.
As soon as possible, because like you, my first experience of NXT was luckily Kevin Owens' debut, and what a bloody night that was, turning on Sammy and destroying him and powerbombing. And I was like, Katie, that's my guy. That is my guy right there. If I ever get a retweet or a like or a podcast interview with Kevin Owens, you can take over and I'll just retire.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll retire then. That's it. Done. Die a happy man.
Exactly. So there's nothing really that jumps out and stands out in my mind other than, as you've said, I think every single NXT takeover match, bar a few duds, has been phenomenal. Even, Adam Cole against Keith Lee, the fact that it's a huge man against this tiny fella, and they sold it, so well throughout the whole match. You thought Adam was just going to get over that little bit, and then obviously Keith gets the win and then goes to Raw and gets buried. Classic Vince. I think obviously, I think going forward for the industry, they've got a lot to work on in all shows, as you've said. We've got some like I'm not really into New Japan. I haven't really watched it. I know of the Bullet Club, but just so everyone knows, on bodyslam.net we have quite a few people who watch it, so we've got quite a lot of reviews and things like that on there.
Yeah, we've got some good
check that out.
Japan content.
Yep, so check that out. But for me, as you said, the three I'm watching at the moment is WWE. I think their direction, they just need to carry on as they are, but stop building up stories or looking at, bringing up stars for the sake of bringing them up. Don't do that. I'd rather them sit on the show they're at and not get used than get brought to Raw and then disappear, because they will disappear. AEW, I think what they need to work on solely now is their women's division. I think they need to focus heavily on storyline driven content. Jon Moxley's title run for me has been poor. People might say otherwise. But when you're fighting a different competitor every single month, where's the story?
Yeah.
You're the story. Jon Moxley's the story. The people who fighting you aren't the story anymore.
Yeah.
And I think obviously Chris Jericho is a huge focus, but do you need to keep plugging him when there's so much talent there underneath you? And stop bringing in WWE stars. Simple as that, really.
Yeah.
Wait for what you've got. And then Impact. Now, I wrote a piece about this. Impact for me are one of the most standout shows of 2020.
Agreed.
If you haven't watched it and you're listening to this podcast, watch all of Wrestle House and you'll see exactly what that company is capable of. The problem with Impact is they're never going to break the ceiling now. With AEW's arrival, that's it. Impact for me will never get the fans in as much as AEW. They will never get the lore and the pull, even though they've got some fantastic talent on there like Ace Austin. Everyone else is bloody on that. Their women's division is insane. But every single company's got a lot to work on, but they've also got a lot of benefits and good things to come out of it. And that's why we're doing this podcast. And that's why for the next few months, you're going to hopefully listen to the dulcet tones of myself, Faz, and my co-host and legendary partner who brought me into this, Chris. And if you ever hear of Stu, you can just tell him to do one. Just tweet him. Tweet him, you're an idiot. That'll do.
Same for at Gary Tate 1.
Yeah, classic Gary. He lives in our heads, apparently. He lives in our heads.
Rent free, sure, Gary, whatever. I mean, we are talking about him now, to be fair. So He's got a point, to be fair.
He's going to love this. And you know what? Now we'll know if he gets to the end of the podcast. And actually listen to it.
This is every week. This is where we talk shit about everybody.
The last 5
Oh,
minutes.
guys, did you see the podcast? Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, it's great.
Did you? Yeah. Don't think you did. So we really hope you're enjoying it. We're going to hopefully push these out once a week, obviously with dates and conflicts and our day jobs and things like that. We'll try and do one a week. If not, it'll be bi-weekly at a minimum.
I think we can do weekly. I think it's it might just have to change the scheduling around a little bit, but we'll do whatever we can do to make it work.
We're hoping to put this on a Sunday on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then on all podcasts, wherever you get them on the Monday. That's what I'm hoping to do. We've still got some things we need to iron out because obviously this is our debut thing that we're doing. But it will get better. The production value will get better. The quality of what we're doing will get better. We're just waiting on Christmas and presents.
Do we say, or do we give a teaser on what's happening next week?
Because
that's scheduled. That's set in stone now. That's
I mean, Stu, bless his heart. He's reached out to quite a few of the top English talents where Drew came from, his kind of hometown,
his neck of the woods.
His production. So we're hopefully going to get a Grado on next week. Which will be a fantastic one for us. We're going to try
to start.
Yeah, we're going to try and make sure Stu keeps his mouth shut and lets us ask the questions. But
Good luck.
It's a difficult one there. It might be the Stu podcast from next week. But Stu is also looking to bring in some other really big names for us going forward. So he's the guy. If anyone obviously wants to follow you, Chris, where can they follow you?
Twitter at PWCDs. That's basically it. Just on Twitter now. Instagram, I do a whole different thing, non-wrestling related. So just Twitter. Obviously check us out on bodyslam.net as well.
Yep. And we've also got our own podcast. It's our House Pod on Twitter, and obviously myself, Faz's Thoughts. So that's FAZZAS Thoughts. You can find us both on Twitter, and on YouTube it will be It's Our House Pod. Is our House Pod or is our House Pod?
It's Our House Pod. Yeah, perfect. That's it.
Excellent. So we'll put that all in the description, and we'll hopefully put it on to our RSS feed, as they call it. But it's been a pleasure having you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you can see us in the next one.
I've enjoyed it as well. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I think obviously I love talking about wrestling. The body slam stuff is fantastic. I love doing it, but I think sometimes just having the freedom to have a conversation really, it gets the juices flowing in the types of, not in like dirty, but in the imagination side of things.
Hello. Wow.
And if anyone is watching from Sneak, I don't think you can see there, but if anyone's watching from Sneak, I'm an energy drinker. So Sneak, if you want to eventually sometime just sponsor us.
If you want to promote us, that's fine. Yeah. You go ahead, guys.
Yeah, we'll come up with our own flavour and everything. That'll do us. So any other?
We're wrestling fans, so it'd have to be sweat flavour.
Oh God, imagine that! I wouldn't.
Sweat and shame flavour.
Shame. Bring my flavour.
Yeah.
So it's been a pleasure, guys. And hopefully we shall see you all in the next one. Have a lovely.
Yeah, man.
Take care.
Take care, guys. Thank you.